Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome in to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is April 30th, the last day in April. We're getting into May tomorrow.
Oh, gosh.
Next week, we have a mock draft. I did a mock draft today, dude. You want to hear who I landed? Things are getting weird over on the Sleeper app.
Who'd you get?
I got Kamara.
Okay.
I got Gurley.
Oh, okay.
Gurley's my fifth running back. Odell's my fourth receiver.
What?
Yeah, things are getting weird. I'm trying to find it right now because I can't remember who I drafted second as my running back. But anyway, yeah, ADP is weird right now. So we're going to have to figure that out. But next Tuesday, watch our show. It's going to be fun mock draft nonsense.
Yeah.
So be sure to watch. Welcome on in. We got part 2, draft recap, NFC. We're going to be breaking down the NFC draft picks. That is, before we do that, we got some NFC news. We're not going to talk about most of the news that happened over the last couple days. We'll save that for next week. But I did throw one piece of news that hit us Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, that sort of was big news.
Yeah. So before we jump into the news, be sure to check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Like us at Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. You can like us or follow us, I should say, on Twitter, me and Rick, on the handles, wherever they are on the page. So be sure to do that. Subscribe wherever you listen. Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Let's jump right into the news.
Let's do it.
NFL Network's Ian Rappaport said teams have been consistently calling the Panthers about the availability of Curtis Samuel. That was, I believe, during the draft when it was reported, so I don't know if that holds up, but the fact that they're interested in trading Curtis Samuel is interesting.
Yeah, I don't really know. I would hang on to Curtis Samuel if I was the Panthers, but if you get a really good offer, like a first-round pick or something, they do it. I don't think they're going to get that, though.
No, probably not. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if he goes to, like, the Jets or something, though, I wouldn't mind that.
Or the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great.
Anybody for Aaron Rodgers.
I know. They could just use anyone who can run a route right now.
Yeah. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinels, Jim Orkowski, don't know how to say your name, bro, reports that the Packers are moving to a more run-oriented attack this upcoming season. We've talked about a little bit so far this offseason as we jump into the real meat and potatoes of fantasy football breakdown, May, June, July, and August, that Aaron Rodgers is not a massive fantasy option this year.
No.
And that he's starting to fade into the old man's book club of quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah. I love Aaron Rodgers, but they really do want to run the football. We're going to talk about a player today on this show that they drafted at the running back position and discuss how it affects the Packers. It's so confusing, but they had some good fantasy options. So we'll figure that out. But I think at this point, Rodgers is basically toast. I don't want to fully say that, but people are going to draft him. They're going to own him. They're going to try to own him and start him on a week-to-week basis, and it's just not going to work out.
Right. I mean, in the back of my head, I'm like,
me too. Man. Trust me. You see Aaron Rodgers sitting on the board, you get a little bit of sweaty.
I know. I'm like, this could be his revenge tour. He's going to just go after the Packers and
don't know.
Like Tom Brady did when the Patriots drafted Garoppolo and just go off and win MVP.
Are there any answers to any questions with Matt LaFleur?
No.
I don't
think so.
I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, yeah, I'm not really. I wanted to see where the Aaron Rodgers was going. Right now, he's picked 60, so 6th or 7th round. Yeah, pretty high. I mean, it's not bad for what Aaron Rodgers normally is, but yeah, I don't really like that too much. The 49ers acquired left tackle Trent Williams from the Redskins. So here's the thing. Usually the team that loses the Super Bowl, they're usually a flash in the pan. Right. The Rams, Todd Gurley had questions all offseason last year. They lost the Super Bowl. They didn't really do anything to shore up their offensive line, to shore up their offense as a whole. I don't think they added anyone offensively last year.
No.
Besides Darrell Henderson at running back. And and even defensively, they didn't really add too many pieces over there. And they had a meeting. They didn't make the playoffs, right?
No, they did not.
Okay, so the Rams sucked last year.
They went like 8-8, I think.
The 49ers, to me, lost the Super Bowl, and they've done nothing but get better.
Yeah, they've made some good moves.
They've made some really great moves, and acquiring Trent Williams, he hasn't played in a year and a half, so that is a little bit concerning. But
he was one of the 5 or 6 best left tackles in the game, though, when he played.
Right. To add him now to that already good 49ers offensive line for a 5th and a 3rd round pick is absurd.
I know the Redskins were asking for like 2 first-rounders like last year during the season, and now this is what they end up getting for them.
I got a question for you.
They are a poorly run organization.
What is it with the 49ers and calling up teams and getting like franchise talent in trades? It's like people answer the phone and they just melt.
Yeah,
They melted Bill Belichick for a 3rd round pick. Jimmy Garoppolo.
It was a 2nd round pick.
Oh, was it 2nd?
Yeah, but I think it was the Patriots could have traded Garoppolo for first, like the Browns, but I think Belichick wanted Garoppolo to be in a good spot. So
he took
John Lynch is an excellent GM.
Oh yeah,
and that not even just John Lynch, but like the organization is the complete opposite of the Redskins.
Not to pre-talk about our draft preview show, but it makes me question less their off-season decisions, especially when it comes to draft picks. Not that they're like they hit every time.
Yeah.
But if the 49ers are a good football team, for that matter, a really good football team, is drafting players consistently, and they have a very good GM, I would say, or drafting players consistently well, I would say that you should probably keep an eye on those players, as opposed to teams who's just below all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to the guy they drafted in the 1st round, or one of the guys, but yeah, I agree with you on that.
49ers also traded away Marquise Goodwin to the Eagles. This is a good move. Goodwin was not somebody that they were utilizing in their offense at all.
Yeah. He was.
So a good thing for the 49ers to trade him. The Eagles need bodies.
They do. I mean, I don't think Goodwin's very good, but I think it's just another body, and I think that's what they need.
Yeah. And then the big one, not the big one, but Jameis Winston, 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, 5,000 passing yards.
That's a lot of yards.
Did very well. Doesn't leave his division. Goes straight to the Saints and signs a $1 million a year. He's going to back up $1 million deal. Sorry, he's going to back up Drew Brees. We're going to have to see what happens in this circumstance. I don't know what the Saints really intend on doing with Winston, because they like Taysom Hill. They put a 1st round tender on him. I'm not really sure what the situation is with Jameis Winston staying. We'll have to see what happens with that. But if he does stay in New Orleans, it's a really great place for him to develop.
I love this move. I think this is probably the perfect spot for Winston, the best spot he could have gone.
Right. This year, fantasy-wise, nothing. But next year, in the future, if he stays with New Orleans, is going to be good.
He's not going to play this year unless Breeze gets hurt. But no, Winston, to me, like this is a perfect spot. He gets a sit a year, see how Breeze plays the game. Breeze is not a game manager, but he protects the football.
Right.
He can learn under Sean Payton and kind of just take a year to breathe in, relax, be like, this is what you can fix, because he's got all the talent in the world. And then next year, I don't think Taysom Hill is like, I know the Saints like him, but I I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. And I think Winston will be a better quarterback than Taysom Hill if they keep him around, and he'll take that spot, and then he'll be the guy after Breeze.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. But like I said, after he sits behind Breeze for a year and certain teams figure out that they actually do need a quarterback.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be more landing spots for him next year.
Sure. Or like a Teddy Bridgewater.
I don't know. I don't think there was a option in this contract for the team. So there is a real opportunity that Winston just walks from the Saints, but it would be funny to watch Breeze retire next year, Winston take the reins and shred the Bucs for the next 6 to 10 years.
That would be, yeah.
The Bucs get Tom Brady for maybe a max of 2 years and hopefully just to even make it to one Super Bowl. And the Saints are over here like winning multiple years.
What if Winston signs a 1-year deal with the Saints and then next year he signs back with the Buccaneers?
Oh my God, that would be ridiculous. Anyway, that's the news. Let's jump right into the NFL draft preview. We're going to start with the quarterbacks. We didn't really spend a lot of time on tight ends, but the best tight end, to me, the two best tight ends in the class came off the board, so we are going to spend a small amount of time on them. I did want to mention two things. I don't want to talk a lot about how the Packers are stupid because they really are. I just looked over their draft, and I'm like, they're just stupid. So we'll say that up front.
Their biggest need was a wide receiver. They didn't
draft one. They drafted a tight end. What is it, the third, fourth round? Idiots. Yeah. They're just, the Packers are stupid, dude. I say this every year, and then like Matt LaFleur was actually a good coach. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fun, but they literally everyone was talking about Bill O'Brien and how Bill O'Brien is just bad, and he's been destroying the Texans as their GM, and the Packers are like rivaling.
Yeah, they are. So, I mean, this is probably a bold take, and I might change my opinion in a month or two, but I don't think the Packers will make the playoffs.
Interesting.
I think they're going to be like an 8-8 team.
We'll see. But they decided to invest in their future with their first-round pick and take Jordan Love with the 26th pick in the first round.
Yeah.
I was very shocked by this and also kind of miffed because I wanted the Patriots to take him, but regardless. Unless something ridiculous happens. Obviously, we know Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts, the two guys we're going to spend like 20 seconds on, aren't going to play this year. They're probably not going to play for Jalen Hurts. There's some weird rumors flying around about the Eagles and the Packers, and I do want to mention them before we move on to tight ends. But
sure,
I'll just start with Jordan Love. So as soon as Jordan Love was drafted, there were tweets about Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed, and even one of Aaron Rodgers' co-teammates, or one of his teammates, I should say, he basically came out and said that Rodgers, knowing Rodgers and how he is, he's going to be pissed, and he's going to play like it. And I like that. That's cool. But you had a report that basically said that the Packers, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers did not get along last year.
Yeah, it was kind of just it was partly the pick was to shove it to Aaron Rodgers. Was the report. Yeah.
And so Rodgers is kind of a prima donna baby. I like him a lot,
a little bit,
but he is a prima donna. Like he got friggin' Mike McCarthy fired essentially.
Yeah,
because he didn't want him there. So anyway. This draft pick of Jordan Love, it is a future thing. We believe that like there have been a lot of, we talked about it on our draft show. If you want to hear our analysis on Jordan Love, he, has a lot of comps to Patrick Mahomes, which, just in terms of play style, not necessarily he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but he could be a guy that you could groom and
just like that big arm guy that can get outside the pocket and make crazy throws.
Right. I mean, so, but the rumors that were being thrown out were that Rodgers could be traded to a team like Minnesota, to a team like New England.
There's no way that the Packers
ever make a deal.
Well, especially with the Vikings, like that's like arch rivals.
Right. Unless they just outright cut him, but that's not going to happen.
That would never happen. Yeah.
unless like if those rumors have some kind of viability, and the fact that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers don't like each other, if that has any viability, then there could be a real reality that he might be traded, go to play for another team, and that Jordan Love would get the job. But even if that were to happen in some weird reality, Jordan Love is not worth anything in fantasy year one.
Right.
I don't know if you agree or disagree with that at all.
Oh no, I agree. It's actually, I think, a good spot for Jordan Love. Like it gives him the opportunity to sit for like 2 years and then 2 or 3 years and see what he can do. And I actually don't even hate the pick for the Packers. Like I get the line of thinking where he can be the backup for a few years and you have your next guy. But it's just like you need this team was on the verge of making the NFC Championship game last year.
No, they made.
They did make. Yeah, they were on the verge of making the Super Bowl. Right,
and losing to Mahomes.
And you don't do anything in that first round to help that team for this year.
It's kind of like you can make an argument like, oh, Aaron Rodgers didn't have any weapons. To me, I don't think Rodgers ever needed weapons. Some of his best seasons, there was a weird stat that I saw, and it was that Rodgers has thrown 1 touchdown in his entire career to first round pick skill players.
Yeah, he's never really had.
He never has really had those guys.
He's had good players though, like Jordy Nelson in his prime was a good player.
Right. But they never were like, that's not to say he didn't have good players, just to say that they never put players around him. Right. So I honestly didn't expect them to go out and get a wide receiver in this class. I actually thought it would probably be better for them to go out and get defense because they need it. But regardless,
I expected them to get a wide receiver, but not in the first round. Like the Jordan Love pick, I don't hate as much as other people do. It's more what they did after that as well.
Yeah. At pick 221, round 2, pick 21, the Eagles selected Jalen Hurts. The Eagles have a fetish with quarterbacks in their secondary. They like to have little backups, and I don't understand why they made this move to get Jalen Hurts. It was a little bit surprising when I was watching the second round on Friday night last week.
It was probably the most surprising pick of the draft for me.
It didn't make any sense. There also have been rumors, like I said, with the Rodgers situation, there have also been rumors that the Eagles are sick of the constant injuries with Carson Wentz. I was going to say Nick Foles twice. I almost said Nick Foles twice. They're sick and tired of the injuries with Carson Wentz, and that they would be interested in trading him away.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either. At least not this year. But it doesn't make much sense that they would go out and get Jalen Hurts. I don't really understand it. But this so Jordan Love has a chance in like 3 years to play. But I think Jalen Hurts has no chance to play. Like him landing here is like a career backup spot. That's
the thing. Like
the fantasy value of him is like, if people are out there drafting him in dynasty leagues in the first 3 rounds, they're just horribly confused.
I've heard people make the argument like, well, the backup quarterback position is vital, and they needed a backup quarterback desperately because of how much Wentz gets hurt. And I understand that. I do. But why take a backup quarterback in the second round? Yeah. That makes no sense. You're wasting a second round pick at that point.
When they need receivers.
And Hurts probably would have fell to the 3rd round. So I think they could have waited as well if they really wanted to do that.
At least a little bit.
Yeah, it just doesn't make
sense.
They're
saying that Jalen Hurts is close to a Taysom Hill like gadget player.
I've heard that too, but I don't like
see
that
it
either.
I don't like it. I don't see it. But I think that may be what they're trying to do. Maybe open up their offense a little bit and have Jalen Hurts run out there at quarterback and do wildcat and stuff like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know what their plan is, but I thought it was
You're going to use a second round pick for that? Like that's...
So anyway, quarterbacks out the way.
Yeah.
Cole Kmet goes to the Bears. I like this. Not really. I don't know. The Bears are just stupid. They're another really dumb organization with their dumb coach, Matt Nagy. And I don't care if they ever listen to this. I think you're dumb and I could run your organization better. And I know literally nothing about running an organization. But they friggin' drafted Cole Kmet in the 2nd round after getting rid of Trey Burton. They signed Jimmy Graham. So Jimmy Graham's going to be their 1. I like Cole Kmet, but I think this is a dead zone for him as a player. Like, they clearly like their two receivers, Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson. And they didn't really throw it to the tight end position all that much last year to begin with. So for me, I kind of look at Cole Kmet as a really talented player stuck in a bad situation. I don't like the Bears at all, and I think they are just terrible offensively. So I'm kind of avoiding everyone, maybe with the exception of David Montgomery. So, I mean, for me,
you'll never learn.
Cole Kmet, not a good landing spot for him. He's going to be the tight end 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So, I guess he's going to get some opportunity, but this class is just not filled with talented tight ends, and I just don't see him having much success at the pro level until he gets to his third year and is in a system that uses the tight end position. At least a little bit.
The Bears actually do, like, Trey Burton last year.
He had some
the previous
decent
year
games, but
he was decent, and they used him a little bit. And I don't think Jimmy Graham is going to be the tight end 1. I think at this point in Jimmy Graham's career, he's a backup tight end.
okay.
So I think Cole Kmet will be the starter, but rookie tight ends as well as Mitch Trubisky is going to throw him the football. I don't see him doing it.
Or
really
Nick Foles.
anything. Or Nick Foles.
If it's Nick Foles, it's a little bit different.
I think it's a little better, but I still don't think Nick Foles is going to make Cole Kmet into a starting tight end.
I don't think so either.
In year 1.
Good tight end. So I'd like to hold on to him, especially if Nick Foles wins the job. That's a little more intriguing to me than Mitch Trubisky. But
yeah, but I think they're going to start the year with Trubisky.
Yeah.
So I mean, they might go with Nick Foles.
He was drafted in the second round, pick 11. We said on our last show that he was going to get drafted in the top 45, I believe. And so pretty freaking close. But anyway, the guy I actually really liked in this class, Adam Trotman, I don't know if we spent time on him, but big, hulking tight end, very aggressive, has a great catch radius. He's a really good tight end. The Saints draft him, which I think is a great landing spot for him.
I think wasn't he a 4th round pick?
Second round pick, 41.
Oh, was he second round pick?
So the Saints pick him up. I believe they already have. Let me just look really fast. I believe they already have a tight end 1 and 2 on their squad.
They have Jared Cook.
Jared Cook. They also have Josh Hill. And there are rumors floating around that they might throw Taysom Hill at tight end this season. So Adam Trotman gets buried on the roster. He was like a 3rd round pick.
He was
no fantasy value whatsoever. He's a little bit
zero. Absolutely zero fantasy value.
He's a talent dump. If you're if you like dynasty fantasy football, he's a guy that you snag talent wise in case he gets opportunity at some point in the future. But yeah, he's not going to do much this year.
He's somebody that like in 2 years from now he's going to have a good fantasy season. Everybody's going to be like, who the heck is that? Because his first year he's going to be like the 2nd or 3rd tight end on the roster.
Yeah.
And then once Jared Cook's getting old, so like in 2 or 3 years once Trotman is the guy, I think he could be good. But yeah, immediate future, he's got no fantasy value.
Yep. Let's move into the most important parts: wide receivers and running backs. This will be relatively interesting in terms of how things went. My favorite wide receiver in this class. Yes. Round 1, pick 17. I believe it was the 3rd or 4th wide receiver off the board. Goes to the Cowboys. It's a great landing spot, and I've had a really hard time with this one. I don't know why I didn't initially like this landing spot for him, but it's obviously good because the Cowboys have a really great offense, and a lot of the teams that these wide receivers are going to, a lot of them that we're going to talk about on this particular show are actually really great landing spots for the wide receivers. But when I talked about some of the wide receivers on last week's show, it just wasn't like when you talk about Henry Ruggs, when you talk about Jerry Jeudy, like they're just landing spots where they're not going to have success in an immediate form. You know what I mean? They might have 1 or 2 games where they just blow up. But CeeDee Lamb gets dropped in a location where he's playing for the Dallas Cowboys. They don't have, like, you can talk up Michael Gallup all you want, but Michael Gallup is not as good as a first-round wide receiver that was picked in the top 20. Like,
who should have been a top
12 pick, right?
Right.
So, and if the Jets didn't draft an offensive lineman, I think that's probably who they would have went with. So
yeah,
I think you look at CeeDee Lamb getting picked with the 17th pick. He for sure to me is going to be the number 2 wide receiver. He played 70% of the time on the outside and 30% in the slot in college. There are rumors floating around because he had success in both areas and because he's ridiculously good after the catch that he would be the Cowboys slot receiver.
I feel like he should be a slot guy.
Yeah. So that if he is, that's
Cooper plays on the outside, right?
That's say it again.
Because Cooper plays on the outside.
Yes. So I think that's a really, really good spot for him. And I think there is some viability. I need to not be excited about it because I don't like rookie wide receivers. So I think there is some real viability that CeeDee Lamb actually is a top 24 wide receiver this year and has success with the Cowboys. I think if he is playing the slot and that's what they do, Mike McCarthy uses him there, then you're definitely going to start to see that. Because there isn't a guy on the Cowboys that really is that, but I didn't even want to say it's Amari because Amari has up and down games, but like, who's the guy that Dak goes to when he needs to like complete a pass?
It is Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
it's Amari Cooper.
I would say that too, but he has these boom or bust games, and when he needs to make a big catch, like who's there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's mostly Amari Cooper, but you don't want a vertical stretch receiver to be your go-to guy. You know what I mean? When you need a big play. I mean, you do in some respects, but if the guy Amari Cooper to me just runs straight.
So for me, a lot of people didn't like this pick fantasy wise, and
yeah,
I kind of didn't like it either, but the more I thought about it, I have come around.
Okay.
For one, CeeDee Lamb, I think some of the reason why a lot of people didn't love it at first was because he's not going to be the guy in that offense, or he's not going to be the number one target.
Right.
It's probably going to be Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
But however, I think I agree with you. I think he's a clear second option in the receiving game.
Yeah.
And Dak Prescott threw the ball for almost 600 times last year. He threw it 596 times.
Yeah.
And he threw it for almost 5,000 yards as well. So he throws the ball a lot. And when Mike McCarthy, when he was the head coach of Green Bay, the Packers threw the ball all the time. Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball all the time. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot this year, which sucks for Zeke, I guess. But I think they are going to throw the ball a lot this year, and I think that's going to be good things for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
I think he can definitely be a top 24 wide receiver.
Yeah,
in fantasy, I don't see him, having a great year. He's going to be capped off because he's a rookie. But
yeah,
I think he could be a low end wide receiver too.
I think there is I think to me, breaking down all the landing spots and looking at every single receiver in this class so far in terms of landing spot, at least within the first 3 or 4 rounds, the guys that are going to have opportunity because of CeeDee Lamb's landing spot, he has to me the best shot at being, a top 24 receiver in this class. I don't see one guy being a top 12 receiver. There's just not.
No, I don't either.
Rookie wide receivers just don't do that.
The NFC has, though, like some of the guys we talked about, I think they're almost all these guys are in good landing spots.
Yeah.
So I could see a few of these guys potentially. Okay. I don't think they all will, but I think I wouldn't be shocked if one of these few guys that we talked about ends up finishing in the top 24.
Now, what's funny is that I believe the Eagles picked right after the Cowboys.
It was a few spots slower.
It was a few spots. Yeah, it was pick 21 where they picked Jalen Rigger. And I think there's a real argument to be made that the Cowboys the Eagles wanted CeeDee Lamb. And they were waiting. They were waiting for that, and the Cowboys are just complete jerks, and they took CeeDee Lamb just to keep him off the Eagles. Kind of funny, actually. But anyway, they take Jalen Rigger. They go with a speed guy. He's explosive. He's a good runner. He did run a little bit slower 40-yard dash than what he looks like on film. I think it was a 4.44, I believe.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk was the same thing.
He's fast, but the one thing that I noticed when I was looking at some of his workout metrics is that he has an elite speed score, and he can get from 0 to 60 wicked fast. So I think the Eagles got the guy that they want. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but he has good hands and he's a good route runner. So I think the Eagles got a good player. He's going to be where the crap is Alshon Jeffrey? Is he still on that team?
He is still on the team.
Okay, all right, because he would be the wide receiver 1, I would assume, unless they trade him.
Yeah, probably. He's an old man now, though.
Yeah, they got Alshon Jeffrey as the player profile.
Sean Jackson is still technically there too, even though he played 2 games and then said he was going to be back the next week and then missed the whole season.
So I'm not sure if this is how they're going to use him, but the expectation to me would be that Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey would play the outside and Rigger would play inside. But he's a little bit small, and that doesn't really take use of his skills. But he's on a team that had basically no receivers last year. Deshaun Jackson, you're right, will play. He struggled with injuries. He's an old man, and they don't really for some reason, Carson Wentz has some kind of problem with Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know. But
it's kind of slow.
Yeah. But Jalen Rigger, I think, will get some real opportunity this year. But I do think with those 2 guys sitting in front of him, it's going to be a little bit. And you got Arcega-Whiteside, who you drafted last year, and Marquise Goodwin, who you traded for this year. And then they drafted this guy named John Hightower, I believe, in the 5th round. So there's going to be some competition here for targets. But I think your first round wide receiver is going to be somebody that you can definitely expect to maybe have some fantasy success year 1, maybe top 30, I would think.
Yeah, I could see top 30 for Jalen Reagor. I think it's a good spot because they needed wide receivers.
Yeah.
And he's a good speedy player. I feel like everybody's trying to get the next Tyreek Hill. I feel like the Raiders are with Henry Ruggs, and this is kind of the same thing. Just he's not nearly as fast as Tyreek Hill, but kind of like that deep ball, shorter receiver who's just speed kind of guy. I don't think he's going to go crazy year 1. But we'll see, because maybe Deshaun Jackson, I have no faith in Deshaun Jackson at this point in his career.
Yeah.
And obviously Carson Wentz doesn't love Alshon Jeffrey, so who knows? Maybe Jalen Reagor could be a top 30, top 25 fantasy wide receiver in year 1.
Yeah. I don't know if it's possible. Like I said, if you had to choose one wide receiver in this class that you would actually choose to draft and redraft this year, who would it be?
It's probably CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I do like you said, the landing spots in the NFC were actually pretty good, but I don't see Rigger being a year 1 unless they really put Player Profiler right now has Jalen Reagor as the number 1 guy on the depth chart. So
I mean,
I don't know if that's
the case, and Wentz has a great year. He could be one of those anomalies where I don't think he'd finish top 12, but he like I said, there's a few guys on this list that I wouldn't be surprised if they could finish in the top 24. And I think Jalen Reagor is one of those guys.
Yeah.
He would have to have a couple things go right for him. Wentz would have to have a great year. Jeffrey and Jackson would both have to not be great. But if those things happen and Reagor stays healthy, it's possible that he could finish as a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy.
Definitely. Round 1, pick 22, you had Justin Jefferson go to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confused by this pick. Very confused. I think this was the best player available. This was the pick that they got in return for Stefon Diggs. So Justin Jefferson comes in and replaces Stefon Diggs essentially. Now, this is what I have on Justin Jefferson. He worked 99% of the time in the slot for LSU.
Really?
Who plays for the Minnesota Vikings that runs the slot 99% of the time?
Yeah.
So where the crap is Justin Jefferson going to play football? Because unless they're running 4 wide receiver sets, he's going to be sitting behind Adam Thielen. Unless they try to convert him to the outside.
Yeah.
But that would be a poor use of his talent. So I'm not really sure what the Vikings are doing here.
Maybe he is a good outside receiver, and that's just how LSU used him. I mean, we don't know.
Yes.
I mean, it was probably discussed in pre-draft meetings with them, I would assume. But I mean, I like Justin Jefferson. I think he could be a very good wide receiver, and I mean, ignoring the fact that he plays on the inside.
I just had a thought. Continue. Sorry.
Okay. Like
I'm checking it to see if I'm wrong.
The Vikings could use a second wide receiver. Obviously, after trading Diggs, that was one of their biggest needs going into the draft. Yeah. I don't know if taking him with their first pick was what I would have done. I probably would have waited till like later in the first round or maybe the second round. But Justin Jefferson was on the board there. It's hard to pass up. You're right. He was the best player available. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind the landing spot. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy in year one, though, because I think Kirk Cousins is capped off as well. Yeah. And Adam Thielen is going to be fully healthy, so he's going to get the most work in that offense. Right. And it's not like they throw the ball a ton to have two wide receivers in the top 20. Yeah. In my opinion. So I think he'll be decent, though. I think he'll be okay. Yeah,
I think it's a decent landing spot as well.
And it's a good football move as well. Yeah. Like, good football spot.
I think, the Vikings obviously have a decent offense. They don't throw it as much as usual. So yeah, I think I personally really, really love Adam Thielen this year. Yeah, for fantasy football. But with Justin Jefferson being added, I'm curious to see how they utilize him and what their plan is for Justin Jefferson. But I think there's not a year one immediate impact for this guy. I think in the next couple years you could see that. But with an offense that doesn't throw the football all that much, it's going to probably be tough for him to get enough targets. I mean, it was tough for freaking Stefon Diggs to get targets in that offense. So
yeah, exactly.
For someone to expect Justin Jefferson to walk into Minnesota and just automatically do better than Stefon Diggs, it's kind of a pipe dream. But I like it for the Vikings. I'm just curious to see how they're going to use two slot receivers.
Yeah, that is.
Imagine Julian Edelman and Adam Thielen on the same team. Like, how? What are you going to use that for? I guess the Pats have done it before, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. The next pick 25 in the first round, Brandon Ayuk goes to the 49ers. He's a great route runner. He's a big outside receiver, which the 49ers do not have. He's a 92nd percentile speed score, so he's wicked fast, and he can get the biggest thing for me. I'm not really sure it's 40 time. As long as you hit 4.5, you're good. The speed score is one of the biggest things for me for wide receivers, because if the guy can get to his top speed extremely quickly, no one's catching him. So if you get to your top 4 or 5 speed, you know what I mean? It in like 3 seconds, no one is going to catch you in that offense, and I think that's what Brandon Ayuk provides. I think I'm saying his name right, by the way.
Brandon
Ayuk, whatever.
It's Ayuk. So I think you.
But anyway, so the 49ers bring him in. He's expected to be probably, I would say, the second or third wide receiver on the roster. Yep. They are rumored to be looking into trading Dante Pettis, who was somebody that people really liked last year.
He might get cut.
He might actually just get straight up cut. But yeah, I think him, Debo, both in the same offense, they're probably going to dominate the target share. I really like that. I think this is a good landing spot for Brandon Ayuk, but I'm not sure. Like I said, rookie wide receiver, how much success can he have at the pro level?
Sure.
Especially as the number 2 receiver. I mean, they didn't have a prolific number 1 wide receiver on their football team last year when Jimmy Garoppolo was good. So it's like, I expect Debo to take a step forward, but Ayuk is going to probably take a couple years to develop. And I think he's talented. I think he's good. I think he has some boom games, but outside of that, he has opportunity, just not enough to make him a draftable wide receiver in redraft.
Yeah, to me, the number 1 wide receiver on that team is George Kittle, and then it's Debo.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And then Brandon Ayuk. So I do love
the number 1 receiver, tight end, George Kittle.
And I like the player, and I love the landing spot. So I do really like this guy. And but for year one, again, the only situation where I could see a lot of success is if like Debo gets hurt, and Jimmy Garoppolo just has like an MVP like season, throws like 40 plus touchdowns, which I would love, but I don't know if that's realistic. So I like Brandon Ayuk, and I especially like him long term. But year one, I don't know. I think his success will be capped off, but I agree with you. He'll have some good weeks.
Yeah.
He'll have some boom weeks where he gets like 20 plus points and people go, whoa, and pick him up. And then the next week he gets 1 fantasy point.
It burns your fantasy team. I see that, by the way. I don't know if I said it, but I see that same thing with Jalen Reagor happening. Round 2, pick 25. The Rams take their Brandon Cooks replacement in Van Jefferson. Mm-hmm. Great route runner, soft hands, plays the slot. He ran a 4.39 40 time, unofficial, fast as anything. So sticking him in the slot next to a Cooper Kupp. Interesting. Cooper Kupp can play the outside though, so don't let that fool you. He has played the outside before, but I think Van Jefferson's speed makes him extremely explosive. I think if he's a guy that can take a slant route and turn it into a touchdown. So I think for the Rams, this is a really great pick for them. I think he also might be one of these receivers that has a really big, if he gets the opportunity year one, he could probably have 1 or 2 big games, and then the rest of the season just be complete trash. But right now, he's the 4th or 5th wide receiver on the roster.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard for him to make it past, players like Cooper Kupp and even who's the other guy that they had, the 3rd wide receiver?
Robert Woods.
No, they have. I know about Robert Woods. Robert Woods is my guy, dude.
It's
Josh Reynolds. So right now he's pegged as the 4th guy on the roster. I think that's probably where he lands, considering he's a 2nd-round pick. But that's just a very concerning situation in an offense. They're used to using 3 receivers, but to have a 4th receiver on the team, which was Josh Reynolds' slot, I don't think Van Jefferson gets a lot of opportunity this year and just doesn't have a huge chance to ascend into what you would want for fantasy value.
Yeah, I mean, I think Van Jefferson has a great chance to succeed long term, but year one, I don't see him doing really anything. I think there's just other guys in that offense that will get more work than he will. And I don't think the offense is explosive enough for the 4th wide receiver on the team to be doing really anything.
It looks like the Rams are retooling a little bit.
Yeah.
For whatever future they have.
I feel like they're kind of moving into the direction of like, Jared Goff, you're the guy. We're paying you all this money. It's time for you to be
make some moves, do some things.
Yeah, it's time for you to kind of be on that level of elite quarterback. And I don't know if he is, but we'll see.
So round 3, pick 2, the last wide receiver we'll talk about, Antonio Gibson. He's they call him a Swiss Army knife. He plays wide receiver and running back, and when he got drafted, they comped him to CMC, the Christian McCaffrey.
Which is
So A, where the heck does Antonio Gibson play? And B, if he plays running back, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know what they're going to do with him. But I just, if he plays running back, you have Peterson there still. You have Darius Geis, who they believe in. At receiver, you still got Terry McLaurin. So at best, he's the 2nd or 3rd, maybe the 4th wide receiver on the team, somewhere between 2 and 4. And Dwayne Haskins is your starting quarterback. And
Ron
this
Rivera comparison has him compared to Buck Allen. So
Buck Allen, yeah. Well, if he plays, just where I think the CMC thing is just where he plays. He has the ability to. It was weird because when he got drafted, ESPN listed him. They were talking about him as a running back. He was listed on screen as a wide receiver. The breakdowns of him were at wide receiver for the players, but the guy who announced the pick was he's a running back. And so it's what position does he play? He can play all over the field, but when you're talking about fantasy, it depends on where they slot him. If he does end up being the full-time running back, I like the pick, and if they want to give him opportunity, he could be utilized in the run game and also get a lot of receiving opportunity. But I just don't know where, if he's just a wide receiver all season, then he's not worth drafting. But if he's a running back and he gets opportunity in the Skins offense, you could have a real situation where this guy could be good, because if he's getting opportunity on the ground and getting an opportunity through the air, there's, the Swiss Army knives are always, decent for flex spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he actually could fill that role very easily. I agree with you. He's just a wide receiver. I don't want to go anywhere near him. But
Yeah.
the expectation is he's going to be the punt returner, the kickoff returner, the third or fourth wide receiver in the offense, and the second running back. So I mean, like he will do everything.
Somebody
in that
needs
offense,
to tell Peterson to retire.
Yeah, he's an old man now.
Yeah, but Gibson was listed on a lot of websites as a running back. This was a guy that a lot of people pegged the Chiefs to take because of his pass catching ability. So
he would have been great for the Chiefs.
Interesting pick for the Redskins
too. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I actually like the other Antonio that they drafted, Gandy Golden. As a better
he was like
wide
a couple.
receiver.
He was like a couple. I think the next round.
Yeah, he was the next round, and he fell in the draft. He was rated like the same spot, and he's a pure wide receiver. So I actually like him better long term at the wide receiver position, but short term, I think Antonio Gibson. He's somebody to keep your eye on just because of the multiple things that he can do.
Yeah. All right, let's move to running backs. There's only 5, so we'll finish off the show with these 5 running backs.
Sure.
This is going a lot faster than the AFC show. AFC had a lot of offensive draft picks.
Yeah.
So first one off the board, DeAndre Swift. I watched more film on him. I've come around. I've always loved DeAndre Swift, by the way. So it's not like I came around on loving him, but I've come around on his pass catching.
Yes.
He's a better pass catcher than I originally thought when watching him on film. He's a good route runner. He was listed in NFL draft coverage, and when I watched some people after the draft as a 3-down back. He does everything. He doesn't, like I said, we talked about this before. He doesn't have a lot of strength, but Swift to the Lions was one of those. When the second round started, there was a lot of confusing running back picks, and a lot of them happened in the NFC. And this was the third pick. I was like, what? Why? You have Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah.
Like, what the freak are you doing?
And the Lions, to me, are like a team that could sneakily make a playoff run this year if they stay healthy.
Yeah.
And they just have to fill some holes on that defense. And they went with an interior offensive line, and they went with a running back at the top of the second round. So that was kind of
interesting,
a shock to me, and I didn't like it just because I felt like they had other needs. But I like Swift like you do, and I think it could be a really good spot depending on how they use Kerryon. Like if they kind of have Kerryon take a backseat, like there's some people that believe that will happen, and they drafted Swift for a reason.
3-down back.
Let him go. If that happens, I mean, Swift could be really underrated.
That's
really
the concerning part for me. And when you're talking about drafting certain players in fantasy football and evaluating certain players for your fantasy team, right? I always say there's calculated risks. There's risks that you want to take, and then there's risks that you just need to stay the crap away from. You know what I mean? And you understanding what risk you're taking makes, it separates terrible fantasy teams on a year-to-year basis and the team that always has to run around the house in his underwear with "I suck at fantasy football" on the butt. You know what I mean? Taking the league punishment on a year-to-year basis. And the team that wins the fantasy championship or always makes the playoffs. It's calculating those risks. And when I look at DeAndre Swift, is it worth, putting a blindfold on Matt Patricia's offense and putting a blindfold on your head and saying, well, I'm just going to hope that they use DeAndre Swift as a 3-down back and that Kerryon Johnson ends up being, the third down back or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you want to take that risk? And for me, I'm not sure that I'm willing to jump in and do that.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not. But we'll see. If training camp happens, it's one of those many situations that in the offseason we're going to watch closely.
Yeah,
we're going to watch. I mean, if we get a training camp, which I hope we do.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say how the preseason works out.
So this is obviously early ADP on sleeper.com. Just to give you an idea, I'm trying to find his friggin' name here. But he's not even getting drafted.
DeAndre Swift?
Cam Akers. Yeah, there he is. DeAndre Swift, pick 147 on average.
So he's going to probably move up. He's not going to stay there.
I would think so too.
If he stays there, then yeah. I mean, I would totally draft him.
So yeah, like I said, when you talk about that risk equals reward, like if DeAndre Swift's a 6th or 7th round pick, I'm staying away. But if he's like 11th, 12th, it's not really too massive of a risk.
Definitely take him.
Yeah, it's worth taking the flyer, but I don't know what the Lions plan on doing. That's the confusing thing. Is like, do they plan on jumping into this thing and being like, I just have no idea. That's why I was like, dang it. I wanted him to go somewhere where I could predict it a little bit, but you got to throw him on the most uncertain roster on the
J.K. Dobbins
NFL.
with the Ravens, Jonathan Taylor with the Colts. Like, there's so many spots where you're like, huh? I mean,
like this,
well, how are they
literally,
gonna use him?
I've been thinking about this. This could be another version of the 2017 NFL draft.
Yeah, because they're all good spots if they use them.
Right, exactly.
Like J.K. Dobbins to the Ravens is great. Jonathan Taylor to the Colts is great. If DeAndre Swift is used with the Lions, like some people think that he will be used, he could be great. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how all these teams use their guys. But
this is a landing spot that I kind of found interesting.
Sure.
Excuse me. Round 2, pick 20, Cam Akers to the Rams. I like this. I waited for the Rams to draft a running back for 2 days. I was like, when are you going to draft one, guys? Who's my new Todd Gurley? I was hoping they would take Jonathan Taylor. That would have gotten me sweaty. But anyway, Cam Akers goes to the Rams. He's not the best pass catcher, so but neither was Todd Gurley coming into the NFL game. So I think they could probably mold Cam Akers into that. He's strong, he's fast, and he was very successful behind a terrible offensive line at FSU. So he times out on all the work. What do you want to call it? The workouts at the combine. He did well with all of them. I think he ran a 4.40 and he had 20 bench press reps. So he's kind of like J.K. Dobbins in terms of speed and athleticism and strength. Yep. So I like Cam Akers. The question here is, how much do the Rams still believe in Darrell Henderson? So Darrell Henderson, they used a 3rd round pick on him last year. This year, they use a 2nd round pick on Cam Akers. So is Cam Akers just going to take the Todd Gurley role and they'll just use him in that way as a workhorse, or are they going to split it between Henderson? Because Henderson came in and everyone was like, oh, he's a good pass catcher. He's a good pass catcher. And then I saw freaking film from him at training camp just dropping every single pass that went to him. It wasn't good. So it's like, is Cam Akers a better pass catcher than, Darrell Henderson is? I really was hoping that the Rams either took a running back in the 1st round to kind of say, hey, we definitely need a running back. This is our guy. Or just not draft a running back and say, hey, Darrell Henderson's our guy. But now they draft a running back in the 2nd round, basically the 3rd with how late it was. And I'm sitting here going, well, who's the guy?
Right.
And Sean McVay for sure ain't going to tell us.
I don't know who the guy is. And if they split, I don't like it. But he's another guy, Cam Akers. Like, it's a good spot if they use him like Todd Gurley. If they use him like Todd Gurley, then
so dangerous. I hope nobody drafts any of these guys and they're just waiver wire pickups all season.
Yeah.
It's just we're littered with great waiver wire pickups for the first 4 weeks. Or they'll be like
14th round picks that they have no idea who they are, but they're just like best player available, so they draft them.
Oh, yeah.
And then they end up being
good.
But I think Cam Akers, I'm a little more concerned with him just because I think they're going to split. Kind of like he might be used like they used Todd Gurley, but more like last year Todd Gurley, where they use Gurley, they use Henderson, they use everybody. So
right now,
Malcolm Brown.
They're saying Cam Akers is 1, Malcolm Brown is 2, and Darrell Henderson is 3.
Yeah, I mean if that's the case, then I like it. And that offensive line though has gotten worse.
I don't know.
The last like two years.
Yeah.
So it's
I mean, if anything from college will tell you that Cam Akers was good behind a bad offensive line.
That's true. That is true. He had a bad offensive line. So,
I mean, if he's the one, he's very much draftable. I think
big time.
All of these guys I'm okay with really taking, with the exception of the Packers and the Seahawks picks. There are 2 running backs, at least, that we talked about first. I'm willing to take between picks, 10 or 11 and 15. Rounds. Yeah, I'm sorry. Rounds 10 to 15. So I'm okay with them there. But if they go any higher, I'm not really in. Like, they're not in the same category as the Clyde Edwards-Hilairs in my mind in redrafts. So I like them, but we don't really know much about them. I do think Cam Akers is probably got a better shot at being the workhorse lead back in his offense than DeAndre Swift.
Sure.
But we'll have to see what happens. Round 2, pick 30. The Packers make another head-scratching decision and draft
the most
A.J. Dillon.
One for me.
They draft Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon. Like, they're rebuilding an entire NFL organization and not getting any pieces for Aaron Rodgers to succeed. If I was Rodgers, I'd call him up and say, frick you, I'm leaving. I'd honestly do it. I'm like, they're so stupid. So Dillon, I think this is more of an indictment really on our good friend Jamal Williams. I'm sorry, I was going to say Charles. Wow. That's because I saw a video of him earlier today.
I was going to say Jamal Adams was the first name that popped in my head.
Yeah, it's Jamal Williams. I really like Jamal Williams. He grew on me a little bit last year. He's a fun little player, but he's just not very good. So I think the A.J. Dillon signing or draft pick is one where they're going to really replace Jamal Williams. So A.J. Dillon, just to give you a little information about him, he is a power back, not very elusive. He does have a 97th percentile speed score, so he's really fast when he gets up to his top speed. Like I said, difference between speed and elusiveness.
Yeah.
He's not like a guy he's not like DeAndre Swift, who's going to use his elusiveness to get away from you. He's just really fast running straight. So, so he's called a workhorse back, and he has comps to a 1 Derrick Henry. Now, I just want to ask you, where did the Packers head coach come from?
Yeah, Tennessee.
He did. And what did they do with Derrick Henry?
Well, when he was there, they didn't use him right.
Yeah, that's true. Took him half the season. But regardless, they get a guy that they like. Now, here's why it is slightly concerning for me for the Aaron Jones people. Aaron Jones is getting drafted in the 2nd round. They just drafted a running back. Aaron Jones is getting drafted in fantasy. It's hard to talk about the draft and fantasy football at the same time. It really is. But anyway, in fantasy football drafts, Aaron Jones is getting drafted in the 2nd round. A.J. Dillon in the real life NFL draft got drafted in the 2nd round. A.J. Dillon is a big, bulky, Derrick Henry-like running back. And when they get in the red zone, who are they going to give the ball to?
Probably going to be A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
So all of Aaron Jones's fantasy points are about to take a massive walloping hit. I'm going to say stay the heck away from Aaron Jones this year. And I'd probably say stay away from A.J. Dillon as well. Unless A.J. Dillon ends up with the same amount of touchdowns as Aaron Jones, they're both very dangerous players to stick around with. I'm curious to see how the Packers utilize both. I think Aaron Jones is probably the better, more all-around back than Dillon. But if they like this big, a workhorse, tough, not very good pass catching back, they'll go with A.J. Dillon. But I think they just don't want to give the ball to Aaron Jones as much in the red zone like they did last year.
Yeah, I think Aaron Dillon.
It's so hard. It's this conversation about A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones is so hard because Aaron Jones's initials are A.J.
I know. A.J. Dillon, to me, he's just going to be like the goal line guy.
Yeah.
But that could take away touchdowns from Aaron Jones, who had a lot of goal line touchdowns last year.
I want to see if Aaron Jones is on a contract year. Let me see.
He might be, but I don't get this one. And Jamal Williams is still there. Like I don't think he's going to get cut. So they could very well use all 3 of these guys.
He is a unrestricted free agent in 2021.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, this could
be a.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't get it fantasy wise though. I just don't.
For this year, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But as soon as they let Aaron Jones walk,
sure,
they're going to
if that
run with
that happens. Then AJ
Dillon.
Right.
So next year may be a good pick, but right now, just this year, it's going to be another Packers cluster to try to figure out what is going on with any of these guys. So then round 3, pick 12, Keyshawn Vaughn goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And a lot of us will be like, you know what? I love this pick. The Bucs get a running back. This is great news. Have you seen this guy play football? He's not a good pass catcher.
Oh, he's not? I thought he was.
No.
I thought that was one thing he had.
Nope. The Bucs backfield's looking a little muddled. This is such a meh pick. He's very slow. Well, not very slow. He's a little slow. Some people compare him to Dalvin Cook, which I wouldn't go that far. But I don't know, man. This is another one of those I don't know picks, and I don't like it at all, to be honest with you. I think this is another. Who's their running back right now? Ronald Jones. This is another Ronald Jones. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
His NFL comparison on NFL.com is Jamal Williams. So I think he's going to be he's probably going to be the backup running back. He'll be a third down back. He's I think to Ronald Jones.
But I think a lot of people. So just to fantasy people, listen up now. People are going to go, oh, he's in that Bucs offense. He's going to be real good.
Yeah, I
Temper that excitement, because you're going to go out and you're going to snag Keyshawn Vaughn way too early, and you're going to get burned.
I think this is just a sign that Ronald Jones is going to be the guy, and that Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be. Yeah.
Okay.
Keyshawn Vaughn.
Usually the third round. Third round is where you go, okay, they want to bring in another guy. I'm thinking they want to go in the direction of, because what a lot of people are saying is that this is Bruce Arians' guy. Like he drafted him. He didn't draft Ronald Jones. He didn't go out and get Peyton Barber. He just walked into those two. And I think the Keyshawn Vaughn draft pick here is one of, okay, I'm getting my running back. I can use him 3 downs. I can teach him how to pass catch, all of that stuff. So that's what a lot of people are saying. But it is a gross landing spot. To be honest with you, I liked Ronald Jones before this. Now I don't like him at all. I don't like Keyshawn Vaughn. I'm kind of staying away from the Bucs backfield at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm kind of scared of it, but I do think I still think Ronald Jones is the better of the 2 running backs.
Yeah.
So I think in the end, Ronald Jones will be getting more of the work, but yeah, I'm not trying to draft either of their running backs.
Okay. Round 4, pick 38. We got our final running back, DJ Dallas, going to the Seattle Seahawks. So Seattle brings in another running back. What do you know? Mm-hmm. In the 4th round, so probably it's a fourth round pick that's compensatory. So pick 38 in that round. Basically a fifth round pick. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw him in here just for the sake of conversation. He's a 4th round pick. Seattle bringing in another running back. We obviously know there's injury problems with the first 2, fumble problems with one of those first 2. And so I don't know. DJ Dallas is going to get no opportunity this year. That's basically what I've kind of depicted from this. At first I was like, ooh, this might be for an offense that likes to run the football. If he gets a little bit of opportunity, it might be a good landing spot for him in a couple of years, but it's a boring pick. He's kind of slow. He has decent hands. Yeah. But he just won't
He played wide receiver
and
running back in college, yeah.
Interesting. He's projected as the 4th running back on the roster. So I would be – this is another one of those, like last year the Ravens took Justice Hill. And a lot of people spent the offseason going, oh, Justice Hill, he's going to get opportunity even behind. He's going to supersede the Gus bus, and he's going to become the second guy. And they just didn't do anything all season. So DJ Dallas is going to be talked about in dynasty formats for the next 2 months. And then, you know what I mean? As soon as redraft conversations start kicking into high gear. He's going to be forgotten about. And then by the time next season starts, everyone's going to be like, DJ who? So he's going to be gone, basically. But I wanted to throw him in here in case you wanted to talk about it.
The only thing I could see him succeeding, and it wouldn't be in year one, it would be in the future, like next year or the year after, if they get rid of Chris Carson or Rashad Penny, and he kind of
or one of those guys gets hurt.
Yeah, right.
Which is a
but
good
even
chance.
then, he's still going to be the second running back.
It's interesting because they have. I wanted to see who they had in front of them. The player profiler lists 3 running backs ahead of them.
It's
Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, Travis Homer, and then DJ Dallas.
Yeah, I think he can overpass Travis Homer. But
But it's interesting. Is an interesting draft pick for Seattle. Not sure why they need to spend a 4th round pick on a friggin' running back. They just keep drafting running backs. I saw this video before the draft. It was people making fun of certain coaches and how they react to certain situations in the draft. And it was they were making fun of Pete Carroll, and it was him with the guy had like the sleeper app open with all of the rookie running backs listed, and it had Pete Carroll just clicking draft on every single one of the rookie running backs. He freaking loves drafting those stupid running backs, and I don't get it. I'm like, just stop. You have a running back. You have Penny. You have Carson. Just stop drafting running backs. It's easy.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. But that is our complete and thorough, I guess thorough, as thorough as it can get, breakdown of the NFL draft.
Yeah. Man, both conferences, a lot of players.
I'm ready to talk about
running backs.
I'm ready to talk about players who are going to actually succeed this year. I'm kind of sick of watching like NFL draft stuff, and I'm sick and tired of watching. I'm on Twitter, right? And most of the people I follow are like dynasty related, right?
Yeah,
and
so it's all draft stuff.
They might not even be dynasty related, right? They might just be guys who are redraft people, but right now all they can talk about is their dynasty league because, it's the middle of the off season. So they're talking about all these draft players, and all I'm seeing is college film, college highlights, people getting excited about Keyshawn Vaughn going to the Bucs and how DJ Dallas is going to be good in 3 years. And I'm like, my goodness, I want to talk about this year.
Yeah.
I want to spend some time on this draft.
Me too.
Or
I'm ready.
Not draft, but I want to spend some time on this season. So
you're right.
Interesting. Interestingly enough, we do have on Tuesday a mock draft episode.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. That'll do it for this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Hopefully we prepared you with all these draft picks. Don't forget to check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll talk to you Tuesday, Fantasy Champs.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.